everybody, welcome to the channel. Cindy Daychuk with Queen Bee Creations. If you're not already following, love it if you would give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, keep us coming into your feed. We're out with you at least every Friday with a craft project, Tuesdays with Talk Tuesday, and anytime I get my act together with extra things. Today, I visited the dollar store. So I'm looking at wanting to start to get together some fall projects. I get it's in the heart of summer and purely coincidental, I'm kind of looking like a pumpkin, but I need to start getting some things together so I'm all ready for the season and I can start slowly putting some touches of fall into the shop toward the end of the month. So I was hitting up the dollar store for a couple of quick little projects and thought I'll put them all together in one video because maybe you are looking at putting together some items for fall and getting ahead of the craft curve. So the first thing that I found were these wood signs. Now, I'm not a big glitter girl. There's nothing wrong with these as they are, but I just want something that's a little bit more neutral and not so glittery. So what I also found were cool fall leaf napkins and two types, right? So two patterns. And you know, I'm not one to pass up a good, cute, but inexpensive little napkin for projects. So the first thing that I wanted to do was just kind of sand away some of the sparkles. Now, what this does mean is that everything that I touch for the rest of the day is going to be sparkly. So if you see me later in the video just shining away, you know where it came from. This really does come off pretty easily, and I'm going to be decoupaging over the top of it, so it's not totally critical apart from the fact that I just don't really want a lot of the texture that goes along with this showing up. So in order to kind of prep this surface, because whatever napkin I'm using, you kind of, by the time that we've taken this down to one ply, whatever color is below it kind of leaks through, it kind of echoes up through the napkin, because they do end up looking fairly translucent. So I'm going to go with a fairly neutral color. I'm using Crinoline by DIY, which is a clay-based paint, kind of sticks to almost anything. And I get that I have it in a bottle, but I'm pretty plugged. So rather than you guys seeing me struggle with that, I'm just going to apply a coat of this over the surface and then let it dry. So I'm going to do this to both the pumpkins, but I'm going to use the two different napkins. All right, now that this has dried, I can look at decoupaging. So I have the big kind of fall leaf pattern from dollar store, and when I open it up, it's perhaps not as patterned as I thought it was going to be. I thought I'd get away with one napkin across the front. So, hey, you know, it's what you get. What you get for doing it on the cheap. But it'll be okay. It'll work. Now, the one thing about napkins is they are multiple ply, 2-ply, 3-ply. If they're good napkins, they're 3-ply. Usually the dollar store, they're maybe 2-ply. So you need to separate them. So you need to kind of work it at an edge until you can open it up and kind of separate it away. Now, I'm thinking that what I'm going to be able to do for this one, it might be cute just to do it across the top like this, in which case I need more paint on the top. I just had a light cover, I didn't have a fully dark cover. So, okay, for that one, I need to do more. I need to paint some more to be able to get full coverage, but I think that's gonna be cute with just the leaves coming up. So unexpected, but you know, you go with these things. All right, okay, so I have an all over pattern with this, although again, a little bit different one side versus the other side. So what I am gonna be doing is kind of piecing this together a little bit, and we'll see how that goes. I don't mind both sides of it. I just, it's just not big enough to fit across the whole pumpkin. So what I will maybe do, let me just see what it looks like with two of them. And I haven't separated these yet, so. Oh, actually, two of them together create mirror images of each other. That's actually very cute. All right, now we have a plan. All right, when you have your napkins ready to go, there we go, you are going to cover your surface with your decoupage medium. Now you could use liquid patina in the DIY line. I'm gonna use, which I love using, but I'm gonna use, I don't want these to be shiny. I want them to be kind of matte. So I do have a matte Mod Podge. So any craft store, Amazon is gonna have this. And what I'm gonna do is just paint the entire surface with my Mod Podge. I'm gonna try and see about laying this out in my roughly halfway. Once this is down, it is not coming back up. There we go. And while my glue is still wet. Now, this one's a little bit trickier because I sort of want to get this positioned in that overlap so that my pattern goes right over the top. Awesome. Okay. Now, I'm missing my little squeegee, so I'm making do. I'm taking my glue stick and I'm just gonna roll this down over it to flatten it. You know, off-label use for the glue stick, but hey, it's actually working a treat. So I just wanted to flatten that out a little bit. And then I'm going to cover it all with Mod Podge again. What I did do with the napkin, you'll recall this is the one that had the pattern just going part way up, and so we were going to have the top part of our pumpkin still showing in the cream, in which case I painted that a second coat up a little bit higher just to be able to accommodate it. What I did do was I trimmed off that upper part of my pattern just so that I didn't have the cream of the napkin. I just had the outline of my leaves. And I thought then that they would be able to travel up the top of that. I did cut out a couple of extras just in case, and I think I might do one or two just coming down from the top. Just as a little extra, you know. Just up by where the neck of that is. And then we just paint over them all. What we'll do, take a sanding block and just sand down on the edges away from the pattern. And you can see that it starts to just automatically cut away and just tears away right along the edge. It kind of self-cuts doing that. So I just find it's just a much faster, easier, nice and clean way to be able to get that to kind of tear away. Here's our two pumpkins decoupage. They're like super cute. And these boards with the hanging jute were $1.25 at the dollar store. So think how many cute little Halloween and fall related pumpkins signs that you could make. Because you could certainly, I'm not going to do signs, but you could certainly use them as the base of your signs. Now, this one, I just want to finish sanding. I've sanded the excess paper off the edges, but I do want to kind of distress it a little bit. So first of all, on this one, I want to make sure that I kind of, before we get started doing anything else, punch those holes through where, that I covered over. That was where our hanging cord was. Just because we decoupaged over top and, all right. So this is all sanded. The only thing that I want to do is I just want to kind of lightly distress the edges a little bit. So for this, I'm just taking an ink pad. This is my IOD ink pad with the dark gray. I saw at the dollar store that there were ink pads there that you could get for like $1.25. So still within the confines of what you can do. I'm just going to lightly kind of hit the edges. So it's just adding just a little, can you see the difference on this side versus that side? What I did find at the dollar store were these cool plastic wheat strands. So I thought that they would be kind of neat to use. And what I have been doing is just kind of unwrapping them. So just making a bit of a slit in the paper that kind of holds them all together, so I can kind of unravel them like this. And same thing for the wheat. Okay, and what I'm looking at doing is just kind of laying down a bunch of them from the stem down, but these would be too long, so I'm going to cut them off roughly where I need them. This is where hot glue is going to be my friend. I want a couple of the pale yellow ones in there. Let's cut those off and lay them out. Here we go. Mix them up a little bit. I want to have, I think, 2 brown and 1 of the kind of yellow. So these, right, these are much thicker wire. So if you happen to have wire cutters handy, which I do have in the shop, but they're just way over there. So you can just kind of put a bit of a crimp in them and then bend them back and forth until they break. I'm not too concerned about sharp edges because I'm going to be gluing all that down. Now, one of the things that I like is to make them just slightly different lengths, just a little bit off center, so that, well, I was gonna say, so it doesn't look too perfect. I don't think that these look perfect, these crafts, but that's kind of the name of the game. I don't mind when things are handmade that they look handmade and not machine made, but I like them to look good. All right, and I'm just going to lay that right down there, and I'm going to put a whack of hot glue going across. and just let that kind of sit there. Okay. You haven't seen this part yet, but these come out of a pumpkin in a craft coming up in this video. So I'm stealing from these that you're gonna see soon. So we are using parts that we took out of other parts. But I'm just stealing a couple of leaves from this. And my glue is still hot over here, so I can lay my leaves into that hot glue and just have them kind of coming down. And now I want to put a bit of a bow. And because I'm going to have the jute twine kind of hanging my pumpkin, I'm going to take some of my jute, and here I want a little piece cut off first because that's where I'm going to tie it together. And I'm going to have a bit of a tail hanging down. That's going to be, I'm going to unravel it, and I'm going to have 5 wraps. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I want another little tail. Okay. So those are my 2 tails that are hanging down. This extra piece is what I'm going to wrap around the middle and then tie off. So I'm just doing like a very casual little bow because I think introducing like a fancy ribbon takes away from the paper that we've used to decoupage with, and really this isn't like a fancy looking craft. So I think that all right, so and then just separate our strands. And then for these, the tails, what I want to do is, jute is made up of a bunch of little strands, and they all end up looking nice and wavy. So we're just going to separate them. We're just going to twist them in the opposite direction so that they all start to unravel. There we go. We're going to be putting this in here. I think I want these just a tinge shorter, add a little bit of distinction. A little more hot glue up here. And let's put our bow in. And there we go. For our second dollar store craft, I got these little ceramic, highly metallic little pumpkins. And again, I'm kind of looking to go a little bit more neutral than bright shiny silver, but the shape is just super cute. It's very, very adorable. These were $2.50 each. I'm in Canada, so that's Canadian dollars. If you're in the States, it was less. But what I'm looking to do is create a little bit more neutrality. Now, from an earlier project, I have this mixture already, but this was like bottom of the barrel, old white from Annie Sloan that I had for a client's project that had just been sitting. So it was pretty chunky. I added a little bit of water, and then I added some baking soda. So I wanted to add some texture to it, which was great because it was never gonna go smooth again anyway. And what I think that I'm gonna do is dab this onto 2 of these little pumpkins so that I make them a little bit more rustic looking, and it's got a hole in the bottom, so that's perfect for my fingers to kind of fit in there. But then I'll do one a little bit darker. I'll tone this out a little bit. What's nice about adding the baking soda is that you get a textured paint. So it'd be much the same as if you bought some salt wash and you added some salt wash to this. Obviously something that you can just do in a pinch because you probably have baking soda in your kitchen. If not, you can buy a cheap box at the dollar store. You might not want to use it from the dollar store because you're afraid that it's not going to leaven your cakes or your pancakes or whatever properly, but it's perfect for this because we're not making anything rise here. We're just going for the texture of it. And it really gives a nice kind of textured look to this. So already it makes it look a little bit more rustic. So I'm gonna want 2 coats because I want to darken this up for one of the other pumpkins. I want to do 2 cream and 1 kind of in a slightly darker gray, which means I'm going to add a little bit of weathered wood from DIY. I'm going to spoon some of this out into another container. And I just have to, now that I painted the bottom, I'm going to be sitting here letting it dry. No, I'm going to look for something that I can prop it up on and let it dry without ruining the surface. But you can see the texture that gives. So it ultimately makes it look a little bit more like textured concrete. So I'm going to paint 2 of them this, and then I'm going to do 1 with just a little bit of the gray added into it so that I've got 2 cream, 1 gray, 2 coats each. Let them dry. These are our mostly dried pumpkins. So these have been painted 2 times. This is the cream, this is the gray, and I decided to do a little green one as well. This is gypsy green from DIY added into the cream color. I was thinking, look at the texture on these. I was thinking of doing more to them, but now I see them and I like them like this. So super easy craft. Baking soda in your paint. Mix up the shade you want and then paint 2 coats onto those little ceramic pumpkins because I think those are super cute. Now these are going to dry and then I'm going to seal them once they're dry fully, which will be tomorrow. The final step with these little mini pumpkins is to do a little sealing. So I am going to use a little bit of clear wax, and I just have a little chip brush, and I'm going to do the clear wax all over the surface of the pumpkin because I think I'm going to add a little bit of dark wax as well, just to add a little bit of something to it. So I want the clear wax down first so that the dark wax doesn't sink in entirely into my paint, and I have a little bit of open time to play with. So I'm using dark, which is a brown wax rather than a black, and I'm just going to kind of streak it up a little bit to add just a little bit of dimension on my stem, on my stalk. And then I think I'm going to just kind of streak it down a little bit down each of those grooves as well, just to highlight them just a little bit. So again, I'm not using a lot, and I am going to take my cloth and just kind of rub that in a little bit. If you find that it's a little bit too heavy, take a bit of your clear wax and kind of rub it again. But this is a rough texture, so you're never going to be able to remove it all. Just know that, right? It's going to be sitting in all of those little grooves. But you can see the difference here, that it's just kind of very light, very subtle, but it adds a little bit of shading into those grooves, a little bit more detail and distinction. And then these pumpkins are done. I don't think that they need any additional embellishment. I mean, you could add some jute up here, hang a couple of leaves off it, but quite honestly, I think that just having these in this simplistic, kind of understated way, I love them. I think the texture is just great and speaks for itself. So this is all I'm going to do for them, and I'll show them in a close-up in the pics when I get to that. All right, our third project from the dollar store is using these little foam pumpkins for $4. And you know what? I mean, really, they're pretty cute as they are, but we're going to completely change them up. So, first thing is we want to get all this stuff off. Now, it's got wires that are stuck down in and it's hot glued. So, I just take a screwdriver and I move it down in and just kind of start moving around it and popping up and releasing. And there we go. So you're going to find that it's glued onto it pretty well, and then the coating, the orange coating is very plastic, but it's just styrofoam on the inside. So put these aside. We may use part of them. They're cute as they are. So, you know, you've got your little sunflower. So this on its own could be used. It could be used in pieces. Who knows? But what I want to do is I want to make a natural jute looking pumpkin. So, you know, we've got our little concrete looking pumpkins that are off drying, that using the baking soda. We've got our little napkin ones on the wood. And now I just want to try doing, let's get my glue gun working here. There we go. I can feel it grab and hold. Very exciting. It's a new gun. So let's get a dollop happening there to start. And just create a little bit of a circle to start and push that down in. Now, of course, obviously with your glue, hot glue, you're avoiding burning yourself. And for this, you're going to want to do a little bit of glue every so often, especially because we are, I'm going to grab my glue stick. So because we are going in a spiral, and especially on this base, you're probably going to have to add glue a little bit more frequently than as we go around the pumpkin. When we get up a little higher, but we're just kind of pushing it in place. And I'm probably adding a little dollop of glue right now every quarter turn. I'll be able to extend it out once I get out a little bit further. All right, I think that's going to be enough. So you can see that looks pretty good. And one of the things that I kept doing with my screwdriver was I kept trying to follow some of the natural grooves as I was going around gluing it, so that I would still have some of the cool shape of the pumpkin. And it kept that definition quite nicely, which is perhaps one of the advantages of having this smaller piece. So what I'm looking at is from the dollar store today, I also bought some leaves, and we have some of these leaves as well. So I have some in the brighter color. So just ripping them off when they don't want to. Just cutting them off if you can. So what I'm thinking, that they kind of come doubled over and they're like that. So I am thinking to just keep them intact like that, sliding them off. And for the stump, I picked up a bag of corks. So we get this kind of thing, and I think that might be super cute and kind of fun. So if I tuck a bit of glue, tuck that in, take my screwdriver, push that in, and put the leaves back down. Yes, see, that's cute. I like that. I'm gonna do another one on the other side. Okay, take a little bit of that styrofoam out, since we're gonna have a lot of stuff we're gonna be stuffing down into there. Okay, let's give it a go. So what I'm thinking is do these first. Just kind of stuff it in and then down in. Finish this one off similar to the other one, so we've got some continuity going. I've made my little fringes ahead of time this time, so I've got them knotted, and I'm just gonna push them down in the little bit of a hole that I have left. I think this one's gonna take a lot more glue in. So there's my little fringes. I have my flowers, leaves. These would be leaves. So I've got my leaves, which I'm kind of digging. A little bit of the red showing up. Let me just see if I can manage to push these down at least a little bit in there. And we'll pop a bit of glue in. And now, my cork. See if that sort of holds them in place. I'll just hang on to that momentarily so it doesn't all just pop up on me. There we go. So those are our two pumpkins, our jute and our burlap ribbon, which actually didn't turn out too badly and was a lot faster. It was a lot faster. but I'm loving this one. So there you go. Okay, I'm going to get everything staged up and get all three of our projects all together so that you can see them. But let me know what you think. You know, this is a little bit different, kind of showing you some really inexpensive kind of crafts. If you like this, let me know, and I can do more dollar store ideas and finds for you on our videos. I kind of have fun with it. Let me know what you think. Certainly if you have some other ideas for folks in decorating for fall, drop some of those pics into the comments. I'd love to see them. I know that everybody else would too. Until next week, I'm Cindy Daychuk. See ya.